Hello there.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cantina Social Hour Special Edition on this Saturday, July the 13th, 2024. How's everybody doing? It's great to be here. It's great to see everybody that is in the house with us so far tonight, this afternoon, this morning, wherever you are globally. Thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. And this is our third stream this week: Monday, Friday, Saturday. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm still here streaming. I might care about Star Wars figures just a little bit. It's great to be here, you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. We got a great show for you tonight, this morning. Yeah, I'm going to bring our panel in just a few moments here, but I want to see who is hanging out with us before we get started. So as you guys know, the HasLab has wrapped up, and that's going to be the primary focus of this show. We're going to do a post-mortem on this whole campaign. You know, what worked, what didn't, what could be better in the future, and what do we hope for? What's going to be the next HasLab? What's that going to look like? Let's see who's in the house with us. Today. We've got Des T hanging out with us. How is it going? Thank you for hanging out. We got Adam, our resident bouncer here in the cantina. He is going around the cantina with his baseball bat, and I'm just kidding. He's not doing that, but he is going around the cantina making sure everybody is orderly and polite and promoting positivity. Justin's in the house. How's it going, Justin? Good to see you. Jeff Russell, how's it going? Rick, welcome back. Good to see you once again. Delvian Seek, been a while since I've seen you, but welcome. We have Jeffrey Homer with us. How's it going? We got Paul in the house. Paul, how's it going? We got Better Bob. Good to see you as always. Dodgson, good to see you as always. Thank you for coming in. Rocket City Sith is with us. How's it going? We got Cliff in the house. We've got Aqualish Doug. How's it going? Sea Mammals. How's it going? It took a second there. Corey, how's it going? Good to see you. We got Sakic Score 76. Good to see you as always. Trevor, how are you doing? Good to see you. We got Rick in the house. That's good, Rick. Michael is with us. Indeed, let's get this party started. David is with us too. We got middle-aged Kiwi man collecting Star Wars figures in the house. Luke Malone is with us. How's it going? Toys Are the Way. Hey, Toys Are the Way. He was just on the show last night. We got Pico B1, who was also on the show last night, hanging out with us again. Thanks for being here. Radis Force Dad, how are you doing? My SW guys. Ray, how's it going? Hey, Mary, good to see you. We've got Tim Barry in the house. We've got Dave in the house. Justin Welch, good to see you as always. JM, how's it going? Margaret, good to see you. We got Randy S. Hey, Randy, good to see you here in Social Hour. We got Clink hanging out with us. Marcus Zell is with us. Ms. Calrissian, I love the name. Good evening. Andre is hanging out with us. We got Bob, Bo, Alien Heretic. Cool name. William, good to see you as always. Yeah, the replay will be up later as well. Lee, how's it going? Good to see you. Basil G. Miss Erica MB, good to see you. We've got what lipstick. So this is Give. I think it's called Original Recipe is the color. But the brand is Give. GXV. Alex, good to see you. Alex, how are you doing? Local collector. Straight out of Coruscant, how's it going? Britt, how's it going? Nice. We got a lot of folks in the house. At One with the Force, how are you doing? Daniel Chart 99, how's it going? Agatha, how's it going? Hello from Chicago. Hi. Cool. I love it. We got a great audience. And it's awesome that you guys are here with us on an unconventional day, Saturday, which we rarely do Saturdays. But with these guys, we often do Saturdays because, we have people all over the place. And, we got to make things work, right? So, I love the Saturday shows we're able to get with the TVC crew. All right. So who is hanging out with us tonight, you guys? Who is in the panel? All right. You've seen all these gentlemen before. They've all been on Cantina Social Hour at some point or another. And they are coming back, returning so that we can talk about this HasLab that just completed, that just backed, that unlocked a couple of these stretch goals. And we're going to break down what all went on during this last crazy month, or longer if you want to count that period before we, when we knew the announcement was coming, but it wasn't here yet. All right, so let me go ahead and introduce our panel today that we have on Cantina Social Hour. All right, joining us from far, 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 far away. I think he was on the show 2 weeks ago or so. We got the one and only, all the way from New Zealand, beautiful New Zealand, Jason, aka middle-aged Kiwi man collecting Star Wars figures. Jason, how's it going?
Kia ora, Victoria. I'm going very well. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on. How are you going?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's great to be here. Great to have you in the house.
Thank you so much.
All right, across the other ocean, on the other side, way on the other continent of Europe, the one, the only, you guys know, tremendous Tim, aka Bossk's Bounty. Tim, how's it going?
I'm well, thank you. Victoria, how are you?
Doing good. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
And then kind of still far away from, at least from me, but within the confines of the same country, on the other side of the country, however, from banthaschool.com, we have the one, the only, Crazy Chris. Chris, how's it going?
It's going very well. I'm so happy you're doing this. I wasn't ready to stop celebrating the Cantina. I'd like to give it a little clap, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
For the Cantina.
Yeah. Love it. Awesome, you guys. Well, thank you for being here. It's always a blast. It's and that's because you guys are great. Thank you for being here. And if you have fun people, it's going to be a fun time. So thank you guys. All right. So we got let's see how many, 107 in the house. Thank you guys for being here once again, hanging out in the Cantina with us on this Saturday afternoon, or again, depending on where you're at. Might not be afternoon, but all right, you guys. It's once you're in that HasLab mentality where you've been eating, breathing, drinking, sleeping, walking with HasLab in your head. I mean, it's not easy to just disconnect and be like, okay, what's next? Like I'm still replaying the last month in my head, like every little while. Like the gears are turning. I'm thinking about, this happened, but that didn't happen. But then, what if this would have happened? Like, how are we doing in regards to this HasLab ending? Is it still something that I know, Chris, you're still writing about it. How are you doing? You're still here for the party, it sounds like. How long do you think it'll be until you fully okay, let's move on. What's next?
I thought it would be over, but I'm still like, if I'm not, if I'm a little not in my conscious brain for a second, I still find myself going to the page to refresh it to see what the backer count is. We're almost a full week removed from it, but so I have that part. But the other good part is, when you just wake up in a good mood, and it takes you a second. Like, why am I in a good mood? Oh, that's right, because we back the Cantina. We're getting the Tonica sisters. We're getting Nabrin Leeds. We're getting Greedo. We're getting Wooher. And Jason, I almost was going to try to find a shirt to show off a little chest hair, but I couldn't find one in time to do it appropriately. So yeah, I'm still in the afterglow of it. It's just amazing that we're getting this.
Absolutely. Tim, what about you? How are you feeling after this it's been a few days now since this ended. How are you feeling like removing yourself from that whole month?
Yeah, I feel like I'm missing an arm or something, so it has dominated the past month or whatever it has been. But we're still talking about it, so it's good. Obviously, I'm with Chris. I'm very, very happy that it's funded, and the day it actually funded was a glorious day. Because I'm sure we'll get into it, but it was a little bit slower than we'd hoped, maybe. But I'm pleased. I guess the only downside of it really is that we have to wait so long to get it in our hands. But at least we know it's coming.
Have you ever gone to the movies and then a trailer comes on and you're like, oh, I wish I was watching that movie instead of the one the preview comes on. And you're like, oh, I wish I was seeing that movie instead of the one I'm seeing. That's how I'm going to feel when the ghost arrives. I'm like, oh man, I wish this was the Cantina.
Well, the thing is about when the ghost does arrive, it's quite funny because I remember it feeling like it when the Razor Crest arrived. It's like getting a free toy because I paid for it so long ago. It's like this free toy turns up. That's brilliant, you know.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that though, Chris. Like once the ghost gets here, I'm like, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm especially looking forward to the Cantina. So, Jason, what about you? How are you feeling in this week? The last several days since the campaign ended.
It's been a blast, honestly, and I said on Bantha Skull's website, it's felt like a month-long party. You know, just talking about the Cantina and getting excited for it and getting pumped for it. And I think, you know, the fact that it didn't just back within 2 days and was a runaway success made it, you know, more like you're watching a live sports game, like you're really rooting for your team to get over the line. So it was a little bit stressful, I guess. But like Chris, I had a window on my phone that was open days afterwards, still on the HasLab page. I'm like, I should probably close that now. I don't really need that. But yeah, it's so exciting. And last night I was at a friend's house, and he's a designer for Weta, because, you know, everyone in New Zealand knows each other, and we were all on Lord of the Rings. He was a designer on Lord of the Rings. He built his own Cantina, and it is absolutely amazing. And I got to see it last night. But his one got me excited for the one that we're getting. And even he originally, you know, I messaged him and said, "Are you getting the Cantina?" Because he collects TVC as well. And he goes, "Oh, I don't think so. I've already made my own one." But even him, with his hand-built perfect one, has decided to buy one. So yeah, it's just been so exciting.
Totally. Yeah. It's definitely been a lot of, you know, I've been telling so many people about this HasLab like the last several weeks. I don't even care about it. Don't care about Star Wars. And you know, I'm still telling them about it because, you know, it ended and it funded, and, you know, just, oh, by the way, that thing, you know, I was telling you about, you know, a month ago that, you know, you probably forgot about already. It's happening. And so yeah, even my mom is pretty excited, like, because, you know, she knew, you know, that she knows that I love this, you know, Cantina, aliens and all that. So I've been talking to her about it too, and she's like showing her friends like our live streams and stuff. So it's funny. Which, happy birthday, Mom. She's celebrating her 65th today. So
yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So there's a lot of folks joining in, filtering in still, it looks like. But yeah, we're talking the HasLab, we're talking the Cantina, the end of Back the Bar, the end of Time for a Tonica. Like that, I'm still having a hard time believing that one. Like, wow. All right, so let's see here. We're going to go ahead and start off by doing a little bit of a recap from where things started. It was mid-June mid-March, sorry, that they announced this new HasLab. They said, you know, the next HasLab is going to be the Vintage Collection. It's going to be coming on May the 4th. So, you know, I was like, okay, May the 4th. That's, you know, they haven't done one, like launched it on May the 4th, and, you know, people were speculating and excited. And then that week, of course, we get the delay, right? And they say, actually, no, just kidding, not yet. It's not going to happen until a little bit later. And then it's June the 7th when the campaign launches. So, you know, just kind of considering that, do you guys think that in any way that delay had any sort of effect on how this HasLab played out in terms of, was there a negative effect? Was there a positive effect? Not even focusing on the leaks, just the delay itself. Was there any impact on it from that?
I'll go if you want. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple of things that can happen when. I think the idea behind announcing that there's going to be a HasLab is to get people excited and maybe prepare themselves, prepare their wallet and things like that. But it can also act as a negative as well, because people start speculating on what it could be, and then they hit themselves up to, you know, wishing it was X, Y, or Z. And then if it's not that, they can be quite disappointed. So, you know, at some stage, somebody's going to be disappointed depending on what that item is. And of course, the delay didn't help at all, because obviously on that reveal show that it was supposed to be revealed on, the, you know, the other scale got a load of stuff as well. So that just compounded it really. And, you know, upset a lot of people, which some of it was just, some of it wasn't, I guess. But it left us all a bit disappointed, a bit deflated.
Yeah. In addition to that, too, it obviously, something I think we're going to talk about later, too. It also pushed the critical part of the campaign to the 4th of July holiday weekend here in the United States, which, if it launched on time, we would have, been ending towards the end of, June, mid-June, 2/3 of the way through June, which would have been free and clear of any holidays. But we happen to end right on probably, other than the week between Christmas and New Year's, probably the biggest vacation week, holiday week here in the United States. And there's another point that Tim jogged that I was going to say, and I can't think what it is. So I'll toss it back and see if I can recollect what I was going to say in response to what Tim said.
Oh, yeah. Well, and just I think from my perspective, definitely the delay must have had an impact. And none of us like to miss work deadlines, so it must have been something pretty important for them to delay it. But it just, for me, it just started that little bit of negative sentiment. And I agree with Tim. It was like, they came out afterwards and said, "Hey, look, we're really sorry about the delay. We get that people are angry, but I think most of the anger in the TVC community, or the moaning, was more about the wording in the press release, which was, we've delayed the HasLab. We're going to reveal all these exciting new sculpts for Black Series and some stuff for TVC." It was almost the wording of that. It was more around, I think, the other announcements that kind of started it. Personally, I didn't mind the delay because I did something very stupid that weekend. I went ahead and bought tickets to Star Wars Celebration, and I think 2 ridiculous purchases in one weekend wouldn't have gone down so well. So I didn't mind that it was delayed a couple of weeks.
I remember I was going to say, too, what Tim said, I think, and it actually ties in with what Jason's saying, I think that live stream where it was supposed to get announced was so bad, I think we lost some fans. I think some Vintage Collection fans bolted after that because the announcement, when announced, if you don't even care about the Cantina, we had the epic pipelines of 100% all new Luke, Han, and Ben all together. That should have been like sending celebrations throughout the community. And I feel like it was, barely made a ripple in the pond.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know it's difficult for them, but they really should have moved something around to reveal something, push something forward, even if it means a longer pipeline or a longer time to release, whatever that pre-order window, whatever. They've announced things before and not had the pre-order available. It's, they've done that before, but to offer nothing, and then the wording of the press release was something like Black Series reveals and then updates for TVC. So people just went obviously, mental about that or whatever. So, in hindsight, I think they should have moved something around just to get something out there to say, look, we've had to delay this, but here's some stuff in the meantime, really, But I understand, because we all know, as you said, Chris, that those pipelines would have come with it, to help it. So they essentially, if they had announced those without the Cantina, everyone would go, "Oh, we know what the HasLab was anyway," So they had to pull those as well, but they should have put something else out, just to give us, give a dog a bone, or whatever the saying is, throw me a bone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think with Han and Luke, sorry, Tim, with Han and Luke and Obi-Wan, those and Chewie, they could, in hindsight, they could have put them out and said, "Hey, look, we're listening to you. We're making the mains." You know what I mean? Like
Maybe,
they're not solely attached to the Cantina versus an announcement of Hammerhead. If they went, "Yeah, Hammerhead's coming," you go, "Oh yeah, it's definitely the Cantina." But yeah, I understand why they did it, but in a way, I think Chris is right. The big celebration that should have been, we've got all new mains coming, was kind of lost in the excitement of the Cantina. It was quite a lot at once, I think.
Yeah, that is true. And I agree, Tim. They should have reshuffled something that when they did that live stream for May the 4th, because people were already disappointed that the HasLab was delayed, but then there's speculation and leaks and stuff going on at that time too, for what it is. And then when they pipeline something, it's the Black Series getting all of the mains that people have been asking for in TVC for years. So
Yeah.
a little bit of a tone deafness there. I feel like that,
Yeah.
and it's complicated, right? There's factors I'm sure we're not even considering that go into that. But
yeah,
at the same time, it's the perception is that, that was kind of a punch in the gut. And, I feel that like it was something should have been moved around to just kind of throw something in there for TVC and just kind of keep people satiated for that time, while there was that delay.
Yeah, and didn't they even pipeline this? This is the funny bit. They pipelined an all-new Luke Skywalker for the Black Series in that live stream, didn't they? I mean, if you want to make things worse, that's the way to do it. God Almighty. Maybe they should have just left that one out. This is too much. So,
right,
yeah.
Right. At that point too, I feel like the morale in the TVC collecting community was kind of low. Because it was, I don't know, even before the delay, it just seemed like, it was just kind of a slow period, right? We had a couple of months where nothing was released and then nothing was announced. And, meanwhile, I know there were a few Black Series things here and there that were showing up and being pipelined and pre-ordered. But I just feel like during that time, everybody was kind of feeling frustrated, the mains weren't happening, and, there was still filling in the gaps from previous things that had never been done. And so, yeah, I definitely don't think that delay, helped. At least it didn't help. There was nothing pipelined to kind of keep us, okay, so it's coming, but, in the meantime, we can focus on, these couple of figures that are maybe coming later in the year. But, yeah. I saw a comment on here. Somebody was asking, oh, hey, Greg, how's it going? Somebody was asking if I'll have to look for the comment, but if we know or if we have any ideas of what may have caused the delay to begin with. So does anybody have any thoughts on that?
I have no idea myself.
I just think, it had to be something pretty big for them to have to do it. I'm sure nobody working, none of the team themselves would have wanted to, the delay to happen.
Yeah.
It's like anything, isn't it? If it's in your own place of work, if you're, I don't know, launching a new product or whatever it might be that you're doing, the last thing you want is for it to be delayed. You want it to, if you, I don't know, I know people that make video games and stuff, those get delayed and stuff, don't they? So,
Yeah, well, I said when we did the May the 4th live stream that was supposed to be talking about the HasLab, I work in software, and it happens, and it stinks. You don't want it to happen. And you don't do it on purpose. You certainly don't do it on purpose, but some things come up at the last minute, and you just gotta keep the release. You gotta hold the release for a little bit.
Yeah. I don't think we'll ever know. And the Star Wars design team did such an amazing job, but we don't know everything about their various masters. They've got masters within the company, they've got Lucasfilm masters, so it could have been any of those things. But I quite like to think it was something like what happened to me when I was a teenager and I was doing, a student job, and one of the person looking after the office said to me, so it was like a wholesaler. Person looking after the office said, Jason, could you just look after the office for 5 minutes while I go and do something? And I said, sure. So I was sitting on the chair and I was swinging my feet and accidentally kicked out a power cord. And the power cord powered every single computer in the wholesaler, including all the checkouts. So the power went down and all of a sudden they couldn't serve anybody. So I like to think it was something comical and stupid like that.
How long did you keep that job?
Rather than a conspiracy. 4 years. I had a forklift license. I could move stuff.
I had a license for not a forklift, but for do you guys know what a Big Joe is? So I used to work at Best Buy like ages ago, and the Big Joe is like this thing that you drive around, and then it has a lift. It goes up so that you can grab things from the top of the shelves, because they stack things really high sometimes. but you had to like wear a vest and then like be able to control it so that, you know, if you fell off, you know, you wouldn't fall down all the way. And yes, I was able to control a Big Joe, and it's kind of random.
Nice.
But, anyhow, what if it was the stickers, that sticker sheet that caused the delay?
Worth it. Totally worth it.
Do we like those stickers? I'm curious what you guys think, because I don't think we've talked about this before. Do we like those stickers?
I would probably be more sort of. I wouldn't want to sort of take one off the sticker sheet. I want to keep the sticker sheet intact. But I like the designs of them. I think they're pretty cool. There's a lot of sort of like inventiveness gone into them. But no, I don't think I'm going to be decorating the outside of my cantina with them particularly.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that's most collectors, right? And so there's going to be fewer Tonica sisters on card than there will be pristine sticker sheets, because everyone's going to keep their sticker sheet and not touch it. No one wants to make it not screen accurate.
Right. I don't like. I like to preserve. You know, I know there's something about me that's not well. I want to preserve things exactly as they were, you know, on day one. So, you know, I'm not like, I don't paint my items. I don't do any customization or anything like that. I want it. I'm trying to preserve the memory, so I don't want to change the cantina at all.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I think they're okay. You know, it's just kind of like a bonus, right? It's not really like anything essential. I think the designs are indeed pretty cool, but I would never use them like on my, maybe if I had like another setup somewhere where but I don't think I would. It's kind of weird too, because there's like some wanted stickers in there, right? Like Walrus Man and the Tonica, this is like wanted. And it's like, well, why would they be hanging out somewhere where they're wanted? Like that just, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're neat, but you know, I'm not going to use them.
You could put the wanted Ponda Barber one in your Jeddah diorama. There you go. Rogue
My
one.
Jeddah, where you have where you're missing Baze Malbus. It's just Cheery by himself.
And the sticker sheet is the debut in TVC of Palimoto as well. She's coming to TVC in sticker form.
Yes, coming in sticker form. All right, so let's talk about the leaks. As far as, you know, the leaks, it's complicated, right? Because I mean, the leaks are kind of one of those things. Like some people see a leak, they post it online, they talk about they're excited, but I don't know. I mostly kind of try to like skirt around them, like, you know, if it's not like officially announced yet. But nonetheless, the leaks did happen, and some of them were very early things from a long time ago that, you know, had been changed, and, you know, very early concepts and ideas that weren't anything near final. And, you know, when people saw those, they started taking them for being kind of somewhat final, some of the details that they saw. Then when the actual thing got announced, it's like, okay, well, that doesn't look like the leak I saw. What happened? But, you know, it's a leak, so that's what happens. Do we think that those leaks negatively hurt the HasLab campaign for this cantina? Jason, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. It absolutely did. It had to. And I was gutted when I woke up one morning and I saw images of the leaked cantina, because one, it takes away the fanfare from the team itself to unveil it and go, hey, this is what it looks like. And two, as you said, I think there was some prototype or some unfinished, which may have been, you know, to an earlier topic, maybe where they delayed it because they wanted to get that right. They wanted to get the photography, get it all looking nice, created expectations. And I think, again, it just added to that kind of the back foot sentiment. Like it got it off to a little bit of a negative start. Oh, it's got no roof, or it's got no floor, blah, 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 blah. So I think stealing the thunder from the brand team was gutting to me, because they'd worked so hard on it. And yeah, just people started to see flaws or not flaws, whichever spelling of that word works.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it just picking up what Jason said. deprives them of the opportunity to market it correctly. The leaks were primarily the still images. So you see this top-down Elstree footprint of the Cantina, which doesn't make for a very compelling display. I think people made up their mind, said, "Oh, that's ugly. It looks unfinished," and they didn't give the team a chance to market it properly. Whereas if it was done with the video, you would see kind of the horizontal presentation. You would see the modularity that was shown. The leaks didn't show how really show off the modularity of it the way the video did came off. So just deprive them the opportunity to market it correctly. I think people made up their mind early, and as we all know, it's very hard to move people off their first position. So they made up their mind, and there was no coming back from that. Or if it did, it took till 11:58 on the 8th, before they changed their mind. One other thing I will say, and I don't know if anybody from the team is watching this, but I don't believe in not being honest. Just constructively, I don't think this was overall marketed. There's aspects of the marketing that were missed. I don't know if you remember, if they still do this, but I remember as a kid when you got Lego sets on the back, it would be these other builds that you could do with that set. Hey, here's how, this is how the instruction sheet is going to show up, but you can do these other things. And I used to love to, make those other designs on the back. And that's the one thing I would critique them. They kept showing the Elstree footprint. Exactly. Here it was in the movie. They showed you, kind of playing the 3-card Monty thing where they moved around the alcoves, but that doesn't really change anything. You're just, in the video, it shows them moving them around. They should have shown, hey, look, if you take this piece, put it here, you can go like this with it. You can, do these other things. You can take an alcove out, and this is how it looks. And that's the one thing I think they missed throughout that. They did the original presentation, and then they did that one with Matt and Emily, but that was just like putting it on a shelf. They needed to go one step further, just say, look at what we allow you to do with this. Because there's a little triangular piece, if you look at the video, that angles kind of that last booth back towards the entrance. Well, that's a separate piece. So you could put that at the back and start to fan out the Cantina. I think you're going to be able to do that. And that would just look so much better from a shelf presentation. And I think that would have helped people. I think a lot of people, because of the leak and because they didn't show this, never could get their minds around, how am I going to put this into my collection, into my display? I know mine's going, let me see, right there where those X-Wings are. That's where mine's going. It's going to fit perfectly.
Cool. Yeah, Tim, do you have any thoughts about that, about the leaks?
Well, I think just leaks in general are never good, especially for something like this, where you've just got the one image. It was the base offering to start with, and then you could see the fact that there was a deluxe, and then there's all this other confusion around an image from some focus group which managed to get out there as well, which told, that's just their sort of original potential ideas, pitching it or whatever, it comes with 8 figures, this figures, and it just gets people sort of speculating. And then, if it doesn't have 8 figures, then instantly you're sort of not happy about that aspect of it as well. And I made a video about the leaks. I did toy with it for a little while, whether I should or not, but I left it a couple of days, and then I thought, this is out there now. I've got to talk. I'm almost expected to talk about it. So, but at that point, there was just like the one image to go off, and it was unfortunate, really, because it was a bit of an own goal. Really, it wasn't. It was their fault that it leaked. It wasn't where somebody has managed to get hold of an image and then they've ruined it. They put it up on their own website, which is a bit unfortunate.
Right, and it leaked twice, because then, like, shortly before the campaign launch, there was another leak that somehow got put up onto HasLab Pulse, and then people were commenting on, so it wasn't up there that long. It didn't make the rounds quite as much as the initial one did, but it happened twice. It was like, ouch.
It actually happened 3 times.
Okay, even worse.
Yeah.
Chrissy, you mentioned something about marketing, so let's talk about that just a little bit. I know there was some concern throughout the campaign that it wasn't being marketed like adequately. The Hasbro Pulse, they did a couple of videos that we talked about, and but there wasn't like a whole lot beyond that. I didn't see any like sponsored posts from Hasbro Pulse like on my Instagram. And I think in the past I have for other HasLabs, Star Wars or not. But as far as like the marketing goes and how this was promoted and pushed beyond, this kind of anybody that's following them is probably already like interested in these products, collecting and, keeping on top of what's being announced. But did the lack of them reaching out beyond that have any kind of effect? Tim, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think, there's all sorts of tactics that they can use in their marketing armory, as we call it. I remember when, I think it was like on the third day, it disappeared from the homepage of the UK site of Hasbro Pulse. And I actually put an Instagram post out saying, what's going on, And then after that, luckily it was there for the remainder of the campaign. But you would expect that this would be front and center at all times. Or, if it's not the hero image of the website, it's at least like the second hero image on one sort of mouse scroll or whatever. If they want to promote something else that's happening at the time. But it was not even on their homepage, and the only way you could get to it was through the menu, menu HasLab. I think there's like a little red flashing HasLab at the top. That wasn't there. So, UK people wouldn't even known for however long that was like that. Wouldn't even known it was HasLab was happening. So, yeah. I do seem to remember that with Instagram ads there was more on previous HasLabs compared to this one, but
yeah.
I don't know. What about you, Chris?
I'm not as you guys probably know, other than chatting with you all and some other people, I'm not a big social media guy, so I wouldn't be able to speak to whether or not there were more ads before for the Ghost or this. I use Instagram for the messenger feature, and every once in a while I accidentally click to my home feed. I'm like, what is this thing? Oh, there's some of my friends. I'll like their things. So I'm not a big social media guy, but I don't know. I wouldn't be able to speak to it. I kind of think there is an aspect of a grassroots marketing to HasLabs. I think we're speaking to a very specific audience, and I think collectively the community does a good job of doing that. I don't know how many normies these things are going to pull in at $400 and $500. So I think you're hoping to sell to the choir, not to the congregation on these things.
Yeah, it did go out on Tech Radar towards the end, though, didn't it?
Yeah.
So,
right,
that's them trying to pull in normies, isn't it?
Jason, did you hear about that as well? Like, any concerns from your followers as far as like marketing goes?
Well, I see there's a couple of comments in there saying that Mr. Stevie did a good job on Instagram promoting it, and I do agree with that. But even then, I think his followers are going to be the diehard, hardcore TVC collectors that know that he works on the brand. So I'm not sure how broad that goes, but I look at the screen and I am surrounded by TVC royalty, and I look at the marketing that you guys did. Tim, you made lots of videos. Chris, your website's been going gangbusters this month, and Victoria, you've been doing you've done 3 streams this week, and you've done a social hour at least every week. And so I think it has been the community that's been promoting this more than I think Hasbro has, at least. And like you, I didn't see any ads or anything like that, but obviously I'm a massive nerd and knew it was coming and backed it straight away as soon as I could. But I think it's about that reach, like how far did this go beyond the core TVC crowd? And it was, I think, that the positivity and the creativity in the community that kind of kept the message going that we need to back this thing and it's awesome. And well, you've been marketing the Tonica sisters for what, like 5, 6, maybe more years. So yeah, I don't know, I'm not a marketing expert, and perhaps that it was a victim of the the cuts at Hasbro. Who knows, maybe maybe their marketing budget's been slashed,
That's
and
true.
this is the way they do it now.
Yeah, that's true. I keep thinking though, had this come out like at Comic-Con and you would have had the model there, like what they did with the Ghost last. It was so exciting. Just to be there in that room as they're announcing it, and then they're like, okay, follow us downstairs. We're gonna bring the model out. And you're like, oh, okay, I get to see it like right away. Like had they done something like that with the Cantina, you're not just at an event like that. It's not just people that collect Star Wars. You have so many people coming through and like seeing these things that wouldn't be aware of them through any other way, and then they may become interested. One thing that I kind of was a little, to me it doesn't make sense. Maybe to somebody it does. Why StarWars.com never or even like the official social medias of Star Wars, like the official ones, never once mentioned that this was even going on, because there's a lot of Star Wars fans. Collecting is niche, and collecting TVC is like a niche within a niche. So imagine the reach that you could have, and people, even if they're not traditional collectors, might be like, oh, that's the Mos Eisley Cantina, that's pretty cool. Oh, did you see this so and so? And maybe that could have added to the numbers, that people backing it. So I just kind of wonder why they didn't involve like the more like the Star Wars side of it.
Yeah, they did do a feature for the Ghost, didn't they? If I remember correctly, didn't
so,
StarWars.com did a feature?
Oh, really? Because I was just about to say maybe it's because it's an international website, StarWars.com, and HasLab's Hasbro Pulse isn't available in every country, so maybe I don't know. But if they've done the Ghost before, there's no reason why they shouldn't have done.
I think they did. As you can see, just from the stream, I forgot what I was going to say in 5 minutes. So ask me to remember back to the Ghost. This is a bit of a stretch. That's almost a whole year ago. The Ghost campaign.
Yeah. There was somebody too on gosh, I wish I remember who it was. Maybe somebody that's watching will remind me. Somebody posted a video of the same one that Hasbro released of the Cantina, like the flyby, like you're going through it, but they sped it up like twice, and then they put the original Cantina music, and I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. And I think I mentioned it too, like in one of the earlier streams, after this was announced, like, why when you watch that, and even the video they did like a few weeks ago or a couple of weeks ago now, it it has like contemporary music, and it just doesn't really like fit that Cantina vibe. And I think that was like a really, for me personally, maybe it's not the case, maybe it's just like a very small thing that I'm looking at, but like kind of fitting the vibe of that original movie, of that Cantina scene, 1970s, like kind of capturing that essence when they're releasing this or making videos. I don't know. Maybe they've looked at that and they know it doesn't work, but I don't know. I kind of feel like that would have been kind of neat to see more, something that was maybe some film grain and just kind of making it feel like, that original film. Maybe that would have excited more people.
One thing, when you were talking about another comment I wanted to bring up, somebody commented on Bad Skull. I don't remember who it was. Jason, you probably remember this. Somebody said, when they bring out the model at SDCC, as they said they were going to do, they should open up the backing again for like a little window, like for maybe 48 hours, so they get that punch from it. I think there'd be no question when we get those last 2,300 backers we need to get to Arleal, or Arleal, however it's pronounced, if they did that. But obviously, they're not going to want to do that with G.I. Joe launching a HasLab at the same exact time. But the point still stands. I think it would do great for them to open that window back up just for a little period. I know that would kind of violate the spirit of HasLab of what they've done before, but this whole thing started off on the left foot. So, the whole thing has been unprecedented from the beginning.
I think, you're right, because I think it's going to be awesome. Like Chris Reef said, he's going to bring it out STCC, but if you bring it out and you can't order it, all it's going to do is create 1,000 Facebook posts saying, has anyone got one available for a reasonable price for my son?
Yeah, my son.
The other thing I was just going to say, Victoria, I thought your point was a great one about why did the Star Wars social media handles not pick it up? And Chris has made this point before about collectors who have retired from collecting. This is absolutely the kind of thing that would have brought them back. but if they're no longer following the the TBC kind of niche stuff, they might not know about it. But if they saw it on Star, they might be, actually, yeah, I want a Cantina. I've still got some old figures. Boom, back in. Would absolutely be that kind of dream project to do that.
We had one guy comment on that he was out of the game for several years, and this brought him back in.
Yeah, I think a little bit more, because the community stepped it up and like filled in any of those gaps and really like pushed it. But at the same time, we already have like the same audiences that are like the same people. Like if you want to like branch out of that and capture more people, then you got to push it like in more ways. And maybe we would have had those last little bit we needed to get that last stretch goal and then some. Had they done that. So I don't know if they're, again, if that's something they look at, maybe that's something they can keep in mind for next time, kind of, you got to get the word out there for people to be aware of it. So, yeah.
And I'm sorry if I scared away any backers with my Woohoo cosplay. I'm very sorry about that.
You brought some in is probably what happened.
Can you just there's a comment there from Bob Latail?
Mm-hmm. What's the timestamp?
This would mean the tonicas won't actually. Oh, it's gone now. It's from about 10:50, something like that.
Yeah. Let me see here. This one.
Yeah, because. So, the action figure grader said he was told it's usually around 15k. So that's the thing. I don't know if it is. I think it's a lot more than that for a normal figure. So when you're thinking about the Tonica sisters are going to have 14,700, and then probably maybe 40% of those are going to be opened. I don't know. It might be a bit high. I don't know. But there's 4 people on this stream here, and we're all going to be opening up a set of Tonica sisters, right? So.
I will be opening up a set, even if before it ships they announce it's going to get a different card and come on mainline. I will not be able to wait, so I will be opening up a set as soon as it gets here. But Tim, I don't have any hard sourcing on this, but I have a lot of conjecture and that I feel is pretty good. The numbers high, the best of my knowledge, it's well higher, much higher than 15k, and maybe even a couple 3 times higher if a figure is successful. If there's reorders made, if there's a lot of pre-orders and a lot of reorders made of it, it can go well higher than that. So I think 15,000 is low. These are going to be, even if it went to 20,000, I think these are going to be relatively scarce. And again, even look at the vintage Kenner line. I still feel comfortable saying there are probably more vintage Kenner yak face figures in existence than there will be Tonica sister figures. I'm feeling pretty comfortable with that statement.
I think if we all went to our local store and did a census, I think we'd find there's more than 15,000 Bespin Landos still on pegs around the world.
My area sold out. My area, I told you, I've said my store, the Walmart that I go to, got 9 cases of that assortment, 27 Landos, and they sold through. I mean, yeah, I bought 20 of them, but still 7 other ones sold.
I still can't believe that was 3 per case. Like, wow.
Yeah.
I was looking at the upcoming one too, the Acolyte wave, and there's 2 Mays in there, and there's an OSHA. I'm like, well, I hope those don't hang around too long.
The May is already on sale it's $1 off on the relaunched Hasbro Pulse site. Yeah. It hasn't even shipped yet, and it's already on sale.
That's rough. Anyway,
that means people can cancel their pre-orders and reorder it at a cheaper price, right?
Yeah, if that dollar means a lot.
Something it does, mate.
Yeah. I mean, like we always say, every HasLab is a learning experience. It provides them with more data, more information about how, collectors are reacting and, what the stats are and, what the trends are with that project. And, they've done them now, like all times of the year, kind of seems like. Just thinking about like the Razor Crest was like what, like October, November, and then the Barge was like spring, the Ghost was like late summer, and then this one was like early summer. So it's just kind of it's an ongoing thing. So it'd be interesting to see like long term, like, is there a season for HasLab? Maybe they'll figure out the right season for them at some point.
Yeah, I also think, and I mentioned this before, I think it was one of my videos, that, I mean, it's not imperative, but it would be nice to have one HasLab that I've already backed in hand before I'm backing another one.
Yeah.
You know, if the timing of it can just be a little bit better, maybe. I just think people would feel a little bit better about that rather than, you know, there's like a couple of months in it, maybe.
I know we don't like to talk about this aspect, but I think a lot of people buy HasLabs to flip. So maybe if they had the Ghost in hand and they flipped it, they would have had money to dump into
Possibly,
Cantina
yeah,
for the next flip.
Good point.
Yeah, and it's just that mental aspect as well about a big company having lots of their money, you know, essentially, you know, because you have to pay for it up front. So I guess it'd just be nice to sort of have something tangible that I've paid for before I'm doing it all again.
Well, G.I. Joe is about to do it for the second time, though, because they're launching one at SDCC, and the Dragonfly just got delayed till 2025.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Tim, and I think the other aspect of that is it builds the hype, right? Because it's once people start to get the HasLab in hand and they start to do videos and reviews, and it started building. And for people who didn't back the Ghost, if the Ghost was arriving now, that would add to the FOMO as well. Like, I've got to get the next one because this one is just so much fun. I agree with you. It's having two in play, I think, would have affected the campaign for sure.
Yeah, so I'm going to go through the comments and see what folks are saying, because there's a lot of conversation too about all this. Aaron says, for my son. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that too. Like I used to sell, or I still sell on eBay, like occasionally, and just extra stuff that I need to unload. And people will sometimes message you like, oh, you know, yeah, it's for my kid, you know, their birthday's coming up, and it's just there's always something like that.
Can you do me a deal? It's for my son. Yeah.
Yeah, is that the best you can do?
That AFA 90 graded figure, carded figure. Can you give me a deal so I can crack it open and give it to my son?
Does anyone have this for retail? And by retail, I mean 1995 retail price.
Kevin says they should have partnered with Cerveza Cristal and offered actual bars. Yeah, because I think that's what Obi-Wan was drinking, wasn't it? Or something, like in the behind the scenes or something in that movie. Luke says they should bring out all the figures prototypes and articulate them on camera with close ups before the campaign ends and show off accessories. I don't know how that works, because I mean, these aren't like tooled figures, right? These are like maybe like 3D prints that are. So I mean, I don't know how. I mean, you'd probably do that, and the arm would come off. Wouldn't be good entertainment.
Weren't they saying like the ones at SDCC last year, the Rebels figures? Weren't they saying they were fragile, if I remember correctly, because
Possibly.
of
that? Yeah, they weren't letting anybody handle them, which rightfully so. You don't want anybody touching things, something like that. Paul says, I ordered 2, but they're for me, not selling. ISW guy says, I bought 5 sets, and I will open 2 and sell 3. Wow. So it does happen. Dystopian Playgrounds, most tooling that is a steal for 100,000 shots, plus I would assume most figures are in the 6-figure range. That would be a lot of figures. I mean, maybe in the Power of the Force 2 days, like when those numbers are like really high. I don't even know back then they were that high.
I can see certain of the VC 186 that got up there. You can just tell from the date stamps that one got up there. Probably the new Stormtrooper is probably approaching that, or beyond that. The new Stormtrooper is probably beyond that.
And Tyler's got half of them.
Right.
And Miko's got the other on the pallet.
They're the 2 most powerful nations on the planet. Let's hope they never go to war.
They're going to have to do another production run of those Night Troopers because of Tyler as well. He bought 31 sets.
he got the shipping case. They actually sent him the shipping case.
Yeah, I know.
That's literally he almost is. He's taking the pallet's moniker over. He got the pallet. They shipped him the pallet.
Spacehead Studios asking, did HasLab mention that these pack-in figures will be re-released in the main line in the future? So yeah, this gets asked sometimes. I think they made it pretty clear, right? Like the Tonikas and Wuher, you know, it sounds like they're probably in the set. I know that they, you know, when they did that that showcase a couple of weeks back, I think Jing had said at this time, but right, I think they just have to say that as a disclaimer in case.
Yeah.
But the other ones, the tiers, they said they may get released, but better chances for them to get released if they get unlocked.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Greedo on the 096 card. It's a given, right? It's got to be. Come on.
Right. And even knowing that it's definitely going to come on the regular card, it'd be much easier yet. I'm going to open the one that comes with the Cantina because I cannot wait to open that figure. Yeah, it's so amazing.
Yeah, I'm with you there, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it so you can McClunky?
Yeah. One thing about re-releasing the Victoria, as you said, I think that's just, you know, basically legal boilerplate. They have to say that to keep that option open. I'm sure legal wants to keep that option open, but they know if they did that, they're hurting the sanctity of all HasLabs, regardless of brand going forward. They're gonna if they did it. So I think they need to keep that option open. You know, if they absolutely have to cash in on those assets, they you know, as a break glass option. But in reality, they're not going to jeopardize the sanctity of HasLab, all HasLabs going forward by doing that.
Right. Even though there is technically a variant on the Tonikas they can make, and I didn't even know about this one until a few weeks ago. Somebody on YouTube, again, I wish I should be writing these down because I forget who does them, but somebody on YouTube said that there was a makeup variation from behind the scenes, like photos, to what's actually in the film, like how their makeup's applied. So then I went back and looked. I'm like, oh my god, they're actually right. Like there's some the eyeshadow's different, like in the behind the scenes compared to the actual film. So there is technically a variation that they could put out there of that, but they probably won't.
And Wuher too.
He has the legs.
Yeah, he has the leg
boots
wraps.
or no boots.
Yeah. But when he's behind the bar, there's a picture of him with the leg wraps on, like Luke. So it turns out the Power of the Force 2 one was actually accurate.
It didn't have photoreal chest hair though, so it's going in the garden.
But there is the one of him rolling around in the mud where he's like, "Oh,
I've got that one." Like he's been doing an oil change, and he's just got it all over himself. And he's like, "Oh no, my break's over. I've got to go back and serve drinks now."
And worse, as you can see from the pictures, he's putting his finger in the cup, in the glasses.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Oh man!
No wonder there's fighting at the cantina. He's serving that. Oh.
Bring your own beer. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for keeping the conversation going in the chat. We really appreciate it. Let's go and switch gears here to something you had mentioned earlier, Chris, the holiday weekend impact on this HasLab, because it did end, as we know, in the U.S. It was 4th of July weekend, you know, big holiday weekend here. And, you know, there was definitely, you know, some sort of an impact there that maybe wouldn't have applied had this happened earlier or later.
Can you bring up that image? Is that possible?
Yes.
So if anyone doesn't know, this is from John Miko's data visualization dashboard they did. And he's got, you can pull in with it, you can pull in other campaigns. And this is the last 5 days of the Cantina. And when you get to that period, it's typically, not always, but it's typically a pretty consistent upwards curve. In other words, each successive day is more backers than the previous day. And it has a nice, a typical curve shape. And you can see right here, this is, if this was in nature, you would say it's grotesque because there's no nice natural curve to it, and where that arrow's pointing, that's the Saturday of the holiday weekend. And it wasn't like it was a little bit off the mark. It was 2/3 of the previous day. And I think this impacted everything. The fact that it fell on a day when a lot of people, the critical last 3 days fell when a lot of people were at the beach, or having cookouts and things like that. If the curve had been maintained properly, Greedo probably unlocks Sunday night. We got a bump from Greedo. Greedo unlocks Sunday night if that happens. Instead of 2 p.m. on Monday, Greedo unlocks Sunday night. You get the bump, you get the excitement from that. Nabrin probably, again, if we had the normal trajectory, Nabrin probably unlocks at 5 p.m. on Monday instead of at 11:58 or 11:45 on Monday. So I think it had an absolutely massive impact on what this campaign did. Because if Nabrin unlocks, with hours to go in the campaign, there's no question that Arleo unlocks too. In fact, as I wrote, if they let it go on for one more hour, if they said, okay, we're going to do an hour of overtime, Arleo unlocks. Once Nabrin unlocked, it seemed like it was 100 backers a minute at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And I love this tool that John created, because we were using it every week leading up to the actual thing, like saying, oh, okay, this is where it's going. This is where it was last week. And so thank you again, John, for putting that together.
And shout out to him. He did 2 forecasts. And if you average them, the 2 forecasts, so if you average them like they do with weather models, he almost hit it exactly. The final number, if you average the 2 forecasts.
Yeah, so awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's, and that's kind of thing I wanted to touch on too, was had it gone the full 45 days, it wouldn't have ended on the holiday weekend. That just would have been like a stop along the way.
Right.
So, I mean, I agree. I think that this ending it when they did, did have an impact. I think had it backed the day before, like on July 4th, instead of like the next day, just taking out the fact that it was a holiday, like had it back the day before and Greedo, like, the day before, I think that would have helped us to get all the tiers, that one more day that we always say at the end of each campaign. But in terms of that shorter backing window, because, this was what, 30, was it 31 or 32 days? It was pretty short compared to the usual 45 days that HasLabs typically are. Was that a good thing or was that a bad thing that they did that? Because I know some have said, oh, it's a good thing because people like they keep things into gear, and they backed it faster and they didn't drag their feet as much. But then you have folks saying, well, if it had more time, it could have gotten that last tier and gotten higher numbers. What do we think overall was the impact of that shorter backing window? Tim, do you have any thoughts?
Well, obviously, I can't comment too much about the holiday weekend thing because over here we don't have that. But I'm trusting Miko's stats. But in terms of it being shorter, I was listening to I can't remember whose live stream it was, but Brett was on it. Chris's other half, Chris's better half. And I think he said, I don't want to put words into his mouth, but he said something like, maybe if it's just like a week, would it actually be different? If it's just a week, everyone just has to hammer it in that week. I think this goes back to that whole marketing thing, right? Because if it goes on for longer, you have got more of those dead days from obviously the very high start and the very high end. You have more of those dead days, and I think the Cantina is outperforming other HasLabs on the dead days. I think. Chris, you might be able to back me up on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was in the dead days, and also it outperformed the Ghost.
So if there's more dead days, then essentially, in this example, it looks like had it gone for longer, then it would have got to where it needed to be. But then there's that other argument where if everyone knows how long they've got, then you just back it in that time period. But as I said, it goes back to that marketing. If you've got a longer period, then if you're doing the marketing, then you've got more chance of getting those stragglers, as it were.
Exactly. more time to market. Absolutely, I agree 100%. Like in general, it doesn't. I don't think it would have mattered. I think somebody said they're finding that for crowdfunding, 30 days is ideal. So in general, but in this one, because the word had to get out to, some older collectors that have probably left the hobby, we needed more time to put the word out. So I think the longer time, even for the grassroots marketing part of this, we needed more time to get the word out.
Mm.
Yeah. I agree with all those points. And I think what was interesting was that after, you got the two types of HasLab backers, essentially. You've got the ones that jump on it straight away, and then you've got the people who leave their homework to the very last second. And that plays out in every single crowdfunding campaign. And I agree that the shorter window meant we got more. The dead days weren't as dead. But yeah, it was interesting, and I think agree with Tim as well. It's like the length of it kind of doesn't matter if you're not going to push the marketing hard, because you're then just kind of dragging it out if you're not getting the word out. So the length of the campaign, for me at least, is only if you're continuing to push it from a marketing perspective. And then the other thing I'd say, like you said, Chris, that John's forecasts were bang on, and so were Rive's Junktionites. And we basically know after like 3 days, you see that initial day surge,
yep.
And you're going to get about the same as that at the last second, and you can pretty much predict where it's going to finish up. So I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah. And just another point quickly about the dead days. Dead days can act as a negativity thing as well. So like if say, for example, one of the dead days only gets 20 backers, then you get loads of people going, this thing's never going to back, even though everyone knows it's a dead day, and there are a certain amount of dead days in between the beginning and the end. It's natural to think, oh my God, no one's even interested in this thing because it only got 20 more backers today or whatever the number was, People
were saying Giant Man wasn't going to back. And I was like, no, it's going to back. To me, if you get to halfway, when you get to halfway, when you get to halfway pretty quickly, it's going to back, at least back. But people were looking at those dead days on Giant Man doing exactly what you said, Tim. Oh, it's not going to back. This is never going to back. And then it shot through the roof. One thing I did want to say is I don't want anybody to think, in my case, and I don't think anybody's case, that we're being critical of the brand team for having the short window. We know they didn't want this. This wasn't their choice. That they wanted to launch on May 4th and have 45 days. All we're just saying, even though we can't blame, and we're not blaming anybody, we still just have to acknowledge that stinks. The fact that we were all forced into this situation stinks, because I think this campaign could have done. I think this campaign personally had 20,000 backers potential if it had its normal progression.
Yeah, especially like May the 4th. Like that's a pretty good day to launch something like this.
Yeah.
Some folks in the chat talking about this too. OV Bond Kenobi says, I think the short window actually works. Robert says, I think that it's too bad that they can't do an overtime order window at STCC, having the physical model, that kind of control with kind of crowd with that kind of media attention would likely kick it over the line. That's an interesting thought. Like if they opened it up just for that weekend Comic-Con, like they had the model there and said to people there, all right, go ahead and back it, because they are going to have the model there. Like Chris Rife said that on John Miko's stream the other night, that they are going to have the model there.
Yeah.
So imagine the people that are going to be there seeing it. Oh, how do I get this? Oh, too late. You can't get it anymore.
And they did open up the pre-orders on the Boba Fett's throne room when they announced the Jabba expansion, conversion kit that we're going to be getting soon. They did open those pre-orders back up. So it's not like they haven't done that second close pre-orders and then open it back up for a short window again.
Right. Just, I don't think they've done it on a HasLab.
Not on HasLab, no.
Yeah, that's the problem, as you mentioned, Chris, about the whole, keeping the model intact of a HasLab. You start messing around with the you know, oh, we'll just add another day on for you, or you know, some people have said, oh, can't they just give us the final figure anyway as like as a bonus? It's like, well, if they did that every time, you know, no one would ever back it, would they? So,
well, no. Plus, like, as I've you know, we've talked, you know, Tim, privately, you know, in some chats, the only incentive to have these things made, this isn't insulin. It's not like somebody's medicine. This is the ultimate frivolity in life. It really is. It's the biggest nonsense purchase you can make is a collectible toy. The only incentive when it's a nonsense purchase, the only incentive for it is profit. That's the only thing that's going to motivate anybody to make this thing is profit. So if you say, oh, you should give away all the figures, you take away all the profit. Now you've taken away the incentive. You know, if you give away the figures, even if you don't make those tiers, now you've taken away the incentive to do it in the first place. So you know, we can't. We it's good for us. It's good for us if Hasbro can, you know, make a little money on these things, because it will encourage them to do it again.
Yeah, I think it's also worth reminding ourselves that even though we didn't get that final tier, this was still a massive success, right? We're getting the Cantina, we're getting the Tonica Sisters, we're getting Woohoo, we're getting 2 other figures, and I can almost predict that March Madness and Last Figure Standing, Aliel Shoes is going to be number 1, because people have seen it now and they've gone, wow, I really want that figure. So yeah, it's still a massive success.
Yeah, you know, we can't lose sight of that, right? I mean, I know we're not critiquing, we're not trying to be negative in any way. This is just, you know, let's analyze this and see, you know, what could have, you know, maybe can be better next time. You know, did this have an impact? And I know Hasbro is going to be doing the exact same thing. Yeah, no, for sure. I agree, Jason.
I mean, from a profit point of view, as Chris is saying there, so essentially for me, Hasbro will probably consider it a success because they've gone 700 and something over the 14,000. So they're obviously, you know, they've got their pricing sorted. So you hit 14,000 and everything is, they're making a profit if they hit 14,001, right? So, I mean, the ideal situation for them for maximum profit, in my mind, is for them to hit 6,999, because then they don't have to make Aliel, but they make all that extra profit on the 14,000. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So whatever tier they hit, they're making profit, aren't they? Right. The only real reason they're going to be majorly disappointed if it doesn't get to 8,000 in the first place, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, Aliel is overnight became my number 1 most wanted figure in TVC, and that's going to be the case until they pipeline him.
As you know, we don't rank for Last Figure Standing, but he's going to be number 1 on my last figure. The first one, when we do our graphics, the first one in the corner, and for March Madness, he's going to be my number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Or does he need to be number 25 so he gets more points? I'm still
1.
Okay.
One gets
25 points. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. And the other thing is the HasLabs that I've backed. So I missed out on the barge, but I did see one last night. But like it's all about the base offering as well. So the Razor Crest, the base offering is an outstanding ship, and all of the tier unlocks were kind of bonuses. And I feel the same about this one. I love the way they did the Cantina so much, and the fact that you got Tonica Sisters and Woohoo in the base offering makes that of really high value. So Greedo and Nabrin are bonuses to me. The only one I think where it was a little bit different was the Ghost, right? Like the Ghost without the Ghost crew.
Right.
You know, they seem like an integral part of it. But yeah, to me, the unlocks are bonuses. So getting 2 out of 3 bonuses, as Meatloaf would say, that's not bad.
Yeah. Cool. Any other thoughts on the HasLab, things that maybe next time could be adjusted in order to maximize the number of backers that it might attain?
I just think each one's they always say that they're learning, aren't they? I mean, you kind of think, like, if you've not got this nailed down by now, but each HasLab's different. They've all got their own nuances, and certain things have affected this one, and you know, for the very first fact that it's not a big ship. All the others have been big ships. This is the first time we've had a play set. So you might lose some people just for that very fact, regardless of what media it's from.
Yeah.
You know,
and as I would say, play sets are always going to be challenging, because if you ask 5 people what a play set should be, you're going to get 4 different answers. And it's the same thing with if they do the Death Star, you're going to get, somebody's going to want I want what the vintage Kenner was, recreate that. Somebody else is going to want, a half moon shape Death Star. It's going to be all over the place. Where a ship, Razor Crest is a Razor Crest. There's no debate about what the Razor Crest is. The Ghost is the Ghost. But play sets are just different. You're not going to be able to do it, and make everybody happy.
Mm.
Yeah.
One thing I think, for the next one, it's not really on Hasbro, or maybe it is on Hasbro, is we just got to get people to back sooner and, communicate it better. I made a comment on my article where I said, we need to start beating these people with bars of soap until their logic circuits reboot that wait till the last minute. And I'm glad you're all laughing, because it's obviously a joke, because I would never suggest that in real life, but some people accuse me of bullying. I would never do that. It was just supposed to be a joke. Stop thinking of it as you don't back until midnight on the final day. Before that, you're voting. So if you're going to, and you can have conditions on that vote. If you're voting that I'm going to back this, make your vote known right away, so you can let other people know that you're, how it's going. And if there's conditions on the vote, you can pull it back right before midnight. If it's, I only want it with all tiers. Okay, well, just throw your hand up, knowing that that's a condition, so everybody else that is in that same boat knows that you're on board. And then if it's getting towards midnight, you're not getting all your tiers, just cancel your order. It's very simple. In fact, because of this campaign, I kept configure, how many, deluxe and standards, try to figure out my optimal, number of backing. I canceled my order like 3 or 4 times over the life of the campaign and resubmitted it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not going to name them and shame them because they're a friend of mine, but in like a Facebook, a WhatsApp group that we have, I don't know whether he just does it to wind me up or whatever, but he is saying, I'm not going to back it until everything's unlocked, because that's what I want, basically. And I'm saying, yeah, but if you back it now, there's no risk, there's nothing, and you'll help yourself, because you'll help push it to get to that number that you want. And he literally said, I swear he's trying to wind me up. He said, no, I'll let everyone else take the risk. And I said, there is no risk. There is no risk. Either he didn't get it or he's just trying to wind me up. I think he's trying to wind me up. But he literally backed on with about, it ended like in the middle of the night for us, but he backed that evening. That's crazy, isn't it?
And look,
that is
look
the worst, where people say, I'm waiting for all the tiers to unlock. It's like, how do you think they unlock, mate?
Yeah, I know. This is it. Yeah.
And some people in because the Australia and New Zealand one was through EB Games, and they closed like 16 hours before the end. And Pat Shark put something on Bantha Skull to let us know that was happening. But there were honestly people in Australia who were like, oh, I was going to back it at the last minute and now I can't. And it's like,
God,
don't leave your homework to the last minute.
Yeah, in fact, this is kind of like letting the rest of the group do the homework and then putting your name on right before it gets turned in.
Yeah, the old group assignment. I think the other thing to your question, Victoria, about what next for HasLab, and how I honestly think that the next one, if they're going to start to do them every year, the next one has to be something that's at a lower price point. I think that was one of the things that really hurt this one was the economy is not great. People are spending more on their groceries and their fuel and all the rest of it. And as Chris said, this is like a frivolous, nice to have item. But I think, there's been a couple of examples, I think, in the G.I. Joe or the Marvel, where there's kind of army builders like the Sentinel or the Sky Striker, where you can buy more than one. So if they did something like a brand new Y-Wing, I'd love to see a brand new Y-Wing. and if they made it say $200, but you could get different stickers or something like that, I don't know, and maybe people might buy 2 or 3, but then people can just jump on board if they can only afford one. But I think, you know, having a big $500 item every year is a challenge for space in people's pockets, basically.
Well, they better not do the Death Star then, because it'll be more than that.
It'll be like $800.
More than that, maybe.
Like,
I think it might start.
that's a lot
of
of Hobbit coins, I tell you.
So somebody just said the Marauder for $3 to $350. People are going to want the entire Bad Batch crew with the Marauder. I actually think the Marauder, because of the Bad Batch crew, might be one that would have a shot, but it's going to have to include the crew from the jump. Otherwise, we're going to see the same thing. And if it's got the other members of the crew, and which includes Omega, that many figures, you're probably talking $600 on it. That would be my guess.
Yeah, and it's a big, sizable vehicle. I mean,
Yeah.
you need to put all those figures in there. You know, even the show, there's like, you know, the cockpit with the 2 rows of seats, and then there's like the back where Omega sleeps, and then like the bottom, and you know, plenty of, you know, it'd be sizable, and then it'd be one of those too that's kind of like the Imperial shuttle kind of thing, where it's like it's hard to display.
Yeah,
I actually like that thing.
Yeah. I actually wouldn't back one myself, because I wouldn't want to dedicate the space to it. But I do think it would have, because the pull of the Bad Batch crew could help it. That's why I said I think it could back. I've been saying for a while, I think the Ghost was the last, no questions asked, it's going to back one for me. In my, you know, thinking of the projects, I think everything, you know, going forward is going to have a challenge. Like, you know, I think the Death Star is a lot of demand for the Death Star, but not at $800. I think that will cool people from buying it. And we just did yesterday an article of, you know, the PT, you know, because I think the PT should get a shot. I do. I think the PT should get a shot at HasLab. And wishy-washy consensus on what that should be. So I'm not 100%. It seems like a better scaled Republic gunship was the leader, but that's probably $500 too, and you know, at HasLab production levels, and not a lot of people have the room for that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. You know, with these HasLabs, it's always like I'd rather it be something new we don't already have. But when you get to the prequels, it's like, well, they covered it really well. You know, back in the day.
Yeah. They're just toys. They're not these studio models that Rife and team are giving us now. They're toys, the ones that we have.
Yeah.
And about the Marauder, I've talked about this before, because like the Ghost, we Rebels wasn't out when TVC was around, so or the other way around. So we never had those figures, you know. And the Marauder, we've already got one Bad Batch, and I think it'd be a little bit unfair to sort of, you know, to get the Bad Batch team, we have to back a HasLab. I think that's a little bit unfair. I think it'd be nice to have those figures anyway, and then you back a Marauder at a more reasonable price. But I don't think that's I don't know if it's going to happen or not, you know. Because TVC is around when that show, 3 series of that show is you know, it's front and center. It's not like it's something from the past, you know.
But as you know, to get the crew, you're talking about half a year's new tooling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they can't do that because you're going to lose too many other.
Yeah,
that would mean like there's too many customers for whom there's nothing that year in the line.
Yeah. Cool. Jason, do you have anything else that you wanted to say regarding the HasLab?
Yes, because I knew I'd be in a live stream with such professionals, I thought I better do my homework and take some notes for this show. So I did take some notes, and here are my notes. Me like Cantina. That's supposed to be a thumbs up, by the way. I know it doesn't look like one.
If I push it, will the like count go up by 1? It looks like the Facebook button.
Yeah, have a go. Press your screen. Everyone smash the like.
Smash
Can I-
it.
It's the Cantina is honestly, and I've said it the whole way through, just a dream project for me. It's what I wanted in a HasLab, and I think they executed it perfectly. Yeah, couldn't be any happier.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm like this is the one thing that I've out of all the HasLabs they could have possibly done that I would have wanted the most is like the Cantina, and it's happening, and it's happening with some amazing figures. And yeah, it's like anything else like going forward HasLabs, like I do want the Death Star, but like anything else is just going to be like extra because I'm very happy with this, and I just can't wait to get it. But yeah, it really is a dream come true.
This does go, take #1 spot for me over the Barge, because it would be like if the Barge came with Fozek, Jizum, and I'm trying to think of another deep cut character that I'd want in there. But
Canidus.
yeah, no, I hate that. I would vote for that never to be made. That's a figure I'd vote to never be made. But it's just you combine it with the figures we're getting, and we talk about the Tonicas. I'm thrilled to get a proper update to Wooher too, because I don't think that would ever crack the line otherwise. I know that would never. Can you imagine Walmart placing their orders? Who is this?
So,
Did you ever imagine in 3.75 inch scale we would be getting photoreal chest hair? I mean,
and sculpted.
What
pinky
times
rings.
we live in. This is incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's definitely pretty cool. No HasLab is perfect, and there's always lessons to be learned from each one. But at the end of the day, it's a product that seems like it's going to deliver. So, good job to everybody that promoted it and kept things positive, and did their part for sure. And to Hasbro, of course, for running this campaign and finding a way to somehow, even if it was the only way possible to make the tonic as a reality. So, thank you to them for that. All right, we are going to talk a little bit about the return to Tatooine, because this is like the the initiative that's being like touted alongside this Cantina. So we know that as part of this, we are getting the mains, right? Luke Skywalker, Ben Kenobi, Han Solo, all 100% brand new tooled figures. It sounds like Chewbacca, partially newly tooled figure. And then Moma Nadon, which they pipelined more recently as part of this ongoing return to Tatooine thing. What are our reasonable? I know there's some crazy things we could want, like Zizvit and an update to Kitty Cute Cat, things like that. But what reasonable things? We try to keep things a little bit reasonable. Do we think we may realistically see as part of this return to Tatooine campaign? Does anybody have any thoughts?
First of all, just a question to you guys. Did they say that the return to Tatooine is all encompassing, like, or is it just OT? Did they ever sort of expand on that, or?
I don't think they did. I think it's up for interpretation. By the way, John Miko's ears must have been burning. Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there he is. Hey, John, how's it going? Thank you for stopping by.
Hello.
Glad you're here.
And did they say, correct me if I'm wrong, did they say that SDCC will not have anything from Return to Tatooine, right?
I feel like they did say that.
Yeah. So does that rule out Cobb Vanth that's pipelined? Is Cobb Vanth been pipelined? He has, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so does that rule that out? Because I was really hoping to see that.
I mean, I wonder, like, do they mean like there's not going to be anything from this announced, or just nothing like at all, like on display? Because I feel like they have to have that one on display, right?
Yeah, and somebody said in the comments, I don't think Cobb Vanth was considered because John Migo added it to a graphic, and Mr. Steve was like, "Oh, thank you for reminding me that he's part of it too. So I don't think he was considered part of Return to Tatooine when they said it.
Oh, right, that's good then.
And I just love. I wish Tim was full screen when he had that moment of, "Oop, did I just leak Cobb Vanth or not?" For that split second, it was priceless.
You never know these days, do you?
Hey, you might leak a Rancor on a live stream. You know?
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, thank you very much for the tip. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And he's asking, I think the Cantina was pushed to July to solely force payments into third quarter, but the fans had more money and tax refund money in early part of second quarter. That's an interesting thought. Yeah, could be.
But what do I want from Return to Tatooine? Oh, man, like what? Without going silly over it. I would love. I love creatures. I would love them to do a proper do back, because there's a lot of crossover with that as well. So that would please quite a lot of different people. Please me, because I can have it once stood outside the Cantina, or if we got a new Sand Trooper, put one of those on it or whatever. But then also, Mando fans would enjoy it and as well. So.
I would love a new do-back too, to get away from that Phantom Menace digital model do-back that we have. Get a proper,
yeah, it's not great.
Proper OT do-back. As I said on John Miko's, there you go, on John Miko's stream, I personally love a slightly larger land speeder, just because it's so. I love setting up the roadblock scene. But it just, I use this on that stream. It just reminds me of that scene in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles where they're in John Candy and Steve Martin in the car, and they're like smushed together. Like John Candy's like on Steve Martin's shoulder in the car. That's what your figures are like when you try to set up the roadblock scene. If you try to put Ben and Luke in the cockpit of the land speeder at the same time, it doesn't look good. They're going to be getting, if Luke needs to shift, they're going to be getting very personal with one another in that setup.
Yeah, I have mine set up like that now, and their heads are above the like quite a long way. So,
but
that would be
Sand
cool.
Troopers as well. I mean, I think the behind the scenes video that they did showed the remnant stormtrooper with a backpack on. So unfortunately, I think that kind of means we're going to be waiting a little longer for a Sand Trooper, but I would really love a Sand Trooper.
Yeah. They're getting good mileage out of that VC 231 Stormtrooper mold, but I think if they do Sand Troopers and a dewback, it's going to need the barbell hips to sit on there properly. But I think a Sand Trooper 4-pack makes absolute sense. And the other thing that I'd like, and someone said it in the comments as well, is the Zubrickian Z9000 ball speeder. And I know that Stan Solo's done a version, but I think that would be cool to complement. That would just be perfect sitting outside the Cantina facade.
And Jason, it was your idea, right, to make Arleal the pack-in for that?
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Why not? We don't know who drove it, so.
Right.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool if that like happened and it became canon that that was our Arleal ship all along?
Yeah.
That would be cool.
What do you guys think about like a new Ronto? Is that something we might want to see?
It wouldn't be high up on my list of creatures, if I'm honest. But the two that I'd want before any others is the Dewback and a Bantha.
Yeah,
because I don't particularly like either of the Banthas that we've got. One of them looks like a puffball, and the other one looks like I don't know, like it's a bit scraggly and a bit.
It looks like my dog after not being like bathed for 2 weeks.
yeah. His fur seems a bit like knotted and whatever, doesn't it? So
it's a Rastafarian Bantha skull. He's got dreadlocks.
Yeah, Bantha would be very. I think of that honestly, I feel like that'd be more a priority than a 2-back. I mean, especially when you consider how much we've seen it like in newer media, like The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. Like there's a lot of banthas in there.
That could be an inexpensive HasLab too.
Yeah.
Potentially.
The first tier unlock will be some bantha poodoo for Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
I mean, the Boba Fett that you get with the Slave One, amazing figure. How good would that look on a bantha?
That would be really neat.
Yeah.
Like a bantha. Thank you for the reminder here, John. Yeah, so I guess I'm VC 375 according to Steve. Or I could be 375. So we'll see. We will see. There's more important things to be done than me. So
not to get off subject, but when he did that on his Instagram, what should VC 375 be? And obviously I think it's insinuating that's Luke, since it might be apocryphal, but the story is that Bernie Loomis held his fingers out and they measured it and it was 375, and that became Luke, even though 3.75-inch figures already existed at that point, was already a standard. But that's the story. They did that, so I think it's insinuating as Luke. But then I'm looking at the numbers, I'm like, oh god, do we have to wait that long for Luke? What are we on? VC 334 right now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could put him in there though at that and just like backfill some of those numbers. I think they've kind of done that before, not with that big of a gap, but I think they have done that before.
What is the Dark Trooper VC 271? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like that 3-pack we got from Jedi Fallen Order, and it was like VC 200 and something, and then 150 something. It was like,
yeah.
And there's still one, right? Isn't it 310 or something still unallocated?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it 325? Is it?
Maybe
something like that.
Yeah, the numbering is interesting because I think when the vintage collection started in 2010, I don't think they really paid much attention to, because it wasn't Dengar number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that's just kind of like, why Dengar? Like,
started
what
off
about
with the nappy man?
What about this guy? Like, I pulled him out for the stream last night. Womp Rat. Like, we haven't seen this in a long time. Could they maybe find a way to get some of these guys back out? Maybe one that doesn't have rabies, but
That's cool.
Well, they did the Massif dog, didn't they? Similar size or whatever. Yeah. So maybe a deluxe pack of a figure that they've already made. Maybe Luke,
Yeah.
Get Luke out with his hat and his whatever,
Yeah, the binoculars and the hat and the poncho. Yeah, that'd be cool.
And speaking of Luke, I know a lot of people brought this up, but it'd be cool to get some more of these.
Oh, yes.
There we go.
Absolutely.
Moisture evaporator.
Yeah, those are great.
And both those things, the moisture evaporator and the Womp Rat, came with the Lars Homestead set, right? So I've seen people asking for another Lars Homestead as well. That could be another.
It'd be nice to have one that doesn't have a base. That's basically a vacuum formed Halloween mask.
That's true. And what's funny too is every single Lars Homestead like dome is different. Like every single one is like it's just a little bit different, which I always thought was kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, I think these are all good suggestions. The dewback, the land speeder, and not to mention, all the characters in between there that could be, done as well. All right, let's go ahead and move on. And we have currently, 181 in the house. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you hanging out with us on your Saturday, unless you're in the future like Jason, in which case I think is it Sunday over there?
Yeah, Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
In the future.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about future HasLabs. Like we talked about what went, with things that, maybe went well, things that maybe were detrimental to this campaign. But what about if we just talk about future HasLab projects? Like what, like realistically, like I know you mentioned, Chris, the Marauder as being, a good candidate with, with the Bad Batch, and the Death Star, that always comes up. But is there anything else that we're thinking of that, might be viable. Like, should it, be the next? And I really do think the next one might be Black Series, honestly. But for when they do come back to TVC, is there anything that we think, could be like a reasonable and viable project?
People are saying it in the comments what I think. Paul Nurse and Daniel Chart.
Yeah.
Yep. I see.
I would love that.
You want a big old rusty box.
Yep. I just think it's like the barge. It will just look cool. Like, we're adults. We don't really play with these things, do we? Let's be frank. I mean, some of us might do, but play with them in like posing them, and But ultimately, my barge just sort of sits there looking amazing, and I think a sandcrawler would sit there looking amazing with the droids outside and the Jawas, and I think that'd be cool.
I would love as a sandcrawler too, but it does face one of those kind of playset problems. When you have to purchase the droid set, all they had was the treads on the set, right? And the treads dwarf the characters.
Yeah,
they're much taller. So then if you project that to the thing you see rolling through the screen, it would be like, if they did it to scale, it would be something that's like 3 feet tall on your shelf, 3.5 feet tall. So I mean, I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just saying it has similar challenges.
That is an issue, and especially when you see it in the Mandalorian standing next to the Razor Crest and it dwarfs it. So
I want it just. I mean, for me, I want a sandcrawler for the purchase of the droids. Set that up. It is just to have that as the backdrop. I mean, that's one of my favorite set of figures that they completed. That we have every single one of those droids that I never thought we'd get in a million years. I would be a perfect. I have the vintage one, which was then re-released in OTC. I'm looking over here. It's right over here, and it's kind of silly. R1G4 comes halfway up the side of it.
Did you guys see I know I shared it like on Instagram, but did you guys see that big custom one that was on eBay that somebody made?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. Yeah, something like that would be great.
I think that's great marketing. Way before Chris, you were talking about the back of Lego boxes and it shows you the different sets. The image I had in my head was like, they have Lego with the kids playing with it, but for HasLabs they need a middle-aged man with fat fingers trying to play with the toy and
trying to put those damn weapons in the weapon locker on the Razor Crest.
Yeah,
you could have the speech bubbles with the curse words, the ampersand, £! Exclamation point.
And if you're going to have a kid in the photo, they're just in the background on their phone or PlayStation. But yeah, that's a good way to show the scale of it with a dude there.
Yeah, I love that. And they should do that, like go back to doing that again with like, they used to have kids like back in the day when they were doing like the Kenner stuff. They should do them again like that, but have adults in them now.
Like that Saturday Night Live skit. I love that one.
But this custom one was cool. What I love is that they put a bar at the very top of the sandcrawler, like the Jawas. After hours, they go up to the bar and hang out. That's fun.
I just want to make a point. Were you saying? So the Creature Cantina is one of the boxes that had a kid on it, and we know for the Millennium Falcon they put a kid back on the box. So for this HasLab, are they going to go back to the kid on the box?
Possibly.
Or I think it should be Tim. Just fly Tim out, just so we can do the on the front of the box.
They should get the kid if he's still alive.
Yes.
Oh, Tim, you're gonna hurt feelings.
And this big hand coming through, trying to put a glass down one of the cups, and then 4 other cups are falling off.
My favorite thing is in the official photos. Some of the glasses have fallen over. So it's like I was, with Matt Cohen, Gooble gobble one of us, Gooble gobble one of us. Because I cannot put one glass up without knocking 3 others over when I set up my displays.
Do you know I lost one of the thermal detonators for my Razor Crest? That's now incomplete.
Shut him off. Victoria, kick him out.
It's all right. I have a complete boxed one over there that I've never opened it. I'm never going to touch.
That's the just in case one.
Yeah, I found some of this stuff. It's called Quake Hold. It's like a museum wax type thing. So, they use it on dolls' houses. So, you know, put that underneath the cups and hopefully that'll stay there.
Interesting. Very interesting indeed.
That's
Or they can magnetize.
Sorry, Victoria.
No, it's okay. I'm just saying they can magnetize those glasses so that they like stick on the bar. Yeah. You know, one that I think would be fun, and you know, it's just too bad the movie didn't do better than it did. But I personally would love to see like the solo Millennium Falcon, like that version of it, where you can take parts of it off to make more of the traditional looking Falcon would be pretty cool. But never going to happen.
With the cape room, with Lando's capes.
Yeah.
One thing that I, you know, again, they haven't said it, but you know, we kept hearing this like this new approach and all that stuff, and the return to Tatooine. And again, just what I'm deriving from what they're doing is you have the HasLab, and then you have an ecosystem around the HasLab for the main line. So that's one thing to consider for, you know, for HasLabs going forward. And when we were spitballing, again, the PT ones yesterday, and I meant to put this in the article, and then Randy S. reminded me in the comments, and then I added the article after the fact. If you did Palpatine's office for the arrest scene, you know, your pack-ins could be Palpatine, an update to Agent Kolar, and an update to CZ10, I think is the way you pronounce it, because those two will never do well at retail. They've never done well at retail before, but we need updates to them. So there's your 3 pack-ins. And then mainline could have Mace Windu, Kit Fisto. I know the Kit Fisto we have in TVC is pretty good, but a lot of people don't have it. It's very expensive. I think a lot of newer collectors would like access to that. So Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, and then Anakin Skywalker. I think you can make just an incredible ecosystem of just absolute top sellers if you did it around Palpatine's office. But again, people are going to be like, you know, it's an office. Well, what do you do?
Yeah.
You can have those people.
At least it would have a floor, right? So
Yes.
get all those people in.
U-wing? What about a U-wing? That'd be cool.
Yeah, U-wing would be cool.
So we talk about some like things that have been made. Does that count? Because it was like technically that like 5 POA line, right? Do any of those vehicles really count as having been made before?
Not the ones with nerfs. They don't count for me.
Yeah. That one's trash.
I bought it on clearance. I've never opened it to this day.
I think
I bought one, and some of them you could take the nerf things off, couldn't you? Like the TIE Fighter, you could unscrew. Was it the TIE Fighter? Something had one that you could unscrew. It was a TIE Fighter.
But I think for the U-wing, you can only get one guy in the cockpit, and then the bottom of it doesn't open up, does it? I don't think. So you need one that you can, a bit like the gunship, because it has that, you know, that doors that open and you put all the figures inside. So it needs to be a lot bigger than that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tricky for HasLab because I feel like it needs to be something that's either been like requested for a really long time or something that's like very significant within Star Wars. And, you know, I'd love to see like the U-wing, but we only really saw that in Rogue One. I mean,
yeah,
maybe we see it more in Andor. That could be pretty cool. But
fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, I really would love a prequels one though. I really love to see something for that. I mean, I don't know what that would be though. I mean, Palpatine's office would be cool, I think. Would they do that?
There is one prequel thing that they've never made before, and it came up in the comments, and I was thinking about it before. It's the Gungan sub, the Bongo sub. The issue with that would be cool. The issue with that would be you don't have that ecosystem that Chris is talking about, unless you're going to do a Colo clawfish or something like that.
But and then how do you display it? You know, are you going to go get an aquarium so you can have it floating in the middle of your?
No, you
play with it in the bath. Yes.
Oh, my rubber ducky's not going to like that. He's gonna protest. Oh God, people are going to think that's a euphemism. I meant like Ernie, literally as Ernie from Sesame Street. His rubber ducky.
Oh man.
I'd still for original trilogy. I think an all new Y-wing. Although we've had the Y-wing before, it's the same mold since the Kenner days.
Oh yeah, and the landing gear does not work. I mean, it sags. It's awful.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that was just the vintage stuff, right? Like even the Imperial Shuttle and the Sandcrawler, and all that's like
parts of the TIE fighters are still the vintage.
Darth Vader's TIE fighter.
Yeah.
Should have got that this year for the New Hope Vader.
I know. Can you imagine that one with a flight stand? So you can just have it hovering and angle a little bit.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Maybe they can do another Vader for that later, and he can have like the dull looking helmet, not the polished helmet he only had for like 5 seconds in the movie.
And they can paint the upper tabards the correct flat black, or put the dull coat on it this time instead of having them be glossy.
Yeah. And you could see through his lenses. You could see like the guy in the back. David Prowse.
Yeah.
Any other HasLab ideas, thoughts?
Not popular because it's from sequel trilogy, but I still am a big fan of those troop dropships. They're in Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, and we saw variants of them in The Mandalorian. I think they would be cool. And it would be something that's not $500. But again, it's like Chris said, it's about the ecosystem, although we have most of those figures already. And this is probably unpopular, but the First Order Stormtrooper is a terrible figure compared to what we're getting in terms of like troopers today. So I wouldn't mind if they did an all new one of those. I actually quite like that design. I think it's cool.
Me too.
So I just vowed I will never anti-campaign the HasLab, but I would anti-campaign that one.
Yes.
I always liked it from The Last Jedi, the Resistance bombers. I always thought they looked very much like something you would see in the OT. And I know they were only in that movie, but I always thought that'd be a cool vehicle.
To be clear, mine personally, again, I don't know how, mine still is the Death Star. When the barge was on the floor, and I just wrote this, so I'm repeating myself, but I know some people won't have seen that. When the barge was on the floor, Patrick, who was like almost like, I think he was like a very junior on the team at the time, he was going around like, what should the next one be? And I blurted immediately, Death Star. That was the first thing that came out of my mouth when he said that was Death Star. Which is pretty gutsy of him, because that was day one, and we didn't even know if that was going to back. And he was, what's the next one?
Yeah, true. As some people in the comments have ideas. Setmatic says Moff Gideon's tie would be a good one. Bob says Luthen's Fondor Hallcraft. I see a couple for Maz Kanata's castle. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that one before. But that is interesting. TIE Defender. Now that we've seen him in live action, that could be interesting. A few jokes. I'm not going to highlight those, but a few jokes about what should not be made. Yeah.
I like the home one briefing.
Yeah, that would be neat.
Yeah, and Echo Base as well. I know these are like more play sets, and it's almost quite natural to sort of want a big vehicle for HasLab, just purely because of the first three, and because we're starved of vehicles, because retail don't take them anymore. So it's a bit of a sad, it's where we're at. It's not a criticism, because it is where we're at, but it is a bit of a sad state of affairs when we're sort of saying Moff Gideon's TIE Fighter would be a HasLab. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, the wings are pretty crap on the one that we've got, the TIE Fighter. But essentially, if they could fix that, all it would need is those foldable wings, and you've done it. So it is a bit of a sad state of affairs when we're talking about that sort of thing for a HasLab, unfortunately. But it kind of is where we're at the moment.
Totally. Yeah, that TVC one, the wings. Ugh. I mean, I don't even display it because I can't. It falls off. I have the Legacy Collection version that has like the red like cockpit, like inside it's like red. And that one, it's the same thing. I think it's just that one holds up really well. It doesn't have any wing issues. But interesting comment here that ties into what you suggested, Chris, about Palpatine's office. The little Jedi shell for Revenge of the Sith was never made. And it's not the most exciting vehicle, but it's when Anakin jumps in when he goes over to intervene. Yeah, so. But I wouldn't want to HasLab for that by itself. Cool. All right, so I guess we're going to end on this last segment here. Is there anything new that you guys have added to your collections that you would like to share? A little bit of show and tell as we end the show.
I picked up a few things.
Yeah, show us, Jason.
Got Zeb, which I saw Tim's video. Your favorite figure so far of 2024, Tim?
By a long way as well.
He's an awesome action figure. And then plugging holes in my collection, I picked up a Quinlan Voss.
Nice.
Yeah. A few bits and pieces. And, of course, a whole ton of stormtroopers are on their way or have arrived. So the other ones are getting biffed out at the moment.
Awesome. Chris, do you have anything?
Well, I showed the loose one on the last time we did this, but I have my carded sample, but because I'm a sick man, I have my carded samples.
Holy cow!
Whoa!
How many of those have the Ring of Death, Chris?
None.
Oh wow!
So it was kind of a curse Hasbro moment because I ordered a case of them and I'm like, whatever ones come damaged, those will be extra openers, and they're all pretty much mint. So I'm like, curse you, Hasbro! Now I don't have any openers. You did too good of a job.
Yeah, I lucked out too. Like I got 2 cases of that case with Vader and Stormtrooper and Leia, and none of them had the Rings of Death on there, thankfully.
Wow. I ordered them from 3 different sources over here, and all of them did, from varying degrees of really bad to hardly noticeable. But yeah,
bummer.
Shame.
I shouldn't have opened 2 of those Leias, but I did.
There was a post on the UK Vintage Collection group about one of the retailers has said they're no longer stocking TVC because they're so sick of that ring issue. And they have to keep sending them back, which is a big shame when retailers are starting to pull out of it because of it.
Right.
Well, Star Action Figures threatened it. Because they're the big, they do a lot more volume than some of the smaller ones because they've been established for so long. So when they get the problem, if it's like a third, I think they said on their Facebook group that it was a third of the stock were affected. A third of their stock is a lot bigger than the third of maybe a smaller retailer's stock. So it's a lot more noticeable, and when you can't fulfill pre-orders because you don't want to send them out like that because you know what's going to happen. You're just going to get them straight back. It's not good. So they need to sort it out.
Yeah, definitely. Tim, do you have anything you've added to your collection?
Same, really, just that wave. Yeah, that's it, really, just that wave. I had the previous wave, which still hasn't shipped completely over there. I think Entertainment Earth sent them out, but nowhere else has. I don't think that wave of 4. So it's just that wave and the layer wave, really. It's all I've picked up recently.
Right on. For me, I did receive something today. I know I showed some stuff last night, but today I did get this came in the mail. I got the Scout Trooper helmet.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
I haven't had a chance to open it yet, but I will be wearing this very soon. I don't know where I'll be wearing it, but I'll be wearing it. Awesome. Well, I think that does it, unless there's anything else anybody wanted to mention.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I just sent you another image. I don't know if you could bring it up. I sent it via
No,
this.
of course not. I'm just kidding. Let me grab that. Awkward silence.
Talk amongst yourselves.
All right, let's see here. All right, I see it here. I'm going to go and download this image. All right, let me go ahead and pull up Chris's picture right here. Is this the rubber ducky you were talking about? No, I'm just kidding.
So I don't know if you can see how bad that Ring of Death is on Rex.
Yeah.
But what's interesting here is that came out of the Dark Side shipper that in Walmart, which is in its own shipping case. So I don't know if this was ever in the stand. You know, we were all been assuming that these come from the shipping cases themselves, but this was in that Dark Side shipper, so there was no bubble pushing up against it. Now maybe they shipped in their cases to wherever the Dark Side shipper was put together, so maybe they were at one point in the 8-figure cases, but this one has it pretty pronounced, and that was directly from that shipper.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder what the fix is, because I know some people have said it should be as easy as widening the tolerance of the boxes just a little bit so that there's a little more room. Some have said put tissue paper in there so that if they do rub, it's not as severe. But I don't know. I really don't know, because it's been going on for a long time now.
And why all of a sudden too? What's changed?
Thicker cardstock.
That did it?
Did it happen before then?
I don't know.
I remember the first figure I saw it do it on was Morak Boba Fett, and he was one of the first thicker cardstock figures. So they do tight. They are pretty packed in tight, aren't they? When it's the thicker cardstock.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, whatever the reason it is, they just need to sort it out. Because a big proportion, or maybe it's 50%, maybe it's more, we don't really know, but carded collectors collect this line and they want mint cards, and there's other factors where a shipping case might get a bump or something and it creases the card slightly, or there's a warp, or the bubble gets crushed, or whatever. That sort of thing is, damaged in transit. This is something that they just need to fix because it's not doing them any favors whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, I think that does it. We've been going a solid just over 2 hours now. And, as always, it's been fun. And, I'm glad we got to do this because we did do that first one, and for me, this kind of kicked off like the season of the HasLab, if you will. And we did the May the 4th live stream, and we had you, Chris, and Tim, and John Miko was with us, and we expected to be talking about the HasLab, but then it got delayed. But we still did the stream, and then now this is kind of like bringing a close to that whole season, that last 2.5 months of being pumped for this HasLab and it funding and all that. So now we're just going to wait, and I need a break. I hope they don't rush to another HasLab, too soon. I mean, I obviously probably love more, right? But yeah, I don't mind waiting just a little bit for the next one. But yeah, so I have down in the description links to all of you guys' socials and everything. But just for those, just to let everybody know, Jason, where can our audience go to look you up on the interwebs?
Primarily on YouTube. I've got the very succinct YouTube name of middle-aged Kiwi man collecting Star Wars figures. Try to describe exactly what it is on the box. I'm also on Instagram. Yeah, I think if you search middle-aged Kiwi man, you'll probably find me. It just
Nice.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It's with you three legends, it's been fantastic. And I know the title of this video is the Post-Mortem, but to me it feels more like a rap party. It's we've done the hard work, we've got the Cantina, and then in a few months' time we'll have the premiere when it starts to arrive. So I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe when it does release, we can do this again and talk about how much we love our cantinas. Awesome. Tim, where can people go to look you up on the interwebs?
First of all, I'll second what Jason said there. I literally cannot wait for the canteens to land in people's hands, because I want to see what awesome things people are going to do with it. I'm a bit crap at like anything creative like that, so I'm just going to get it out of the box. I'm going to put my figures in it. But I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to do some pretty awesome things with it. So I can't wait for that. But where you can find me on YouTube, mainly Bossk Bounty. I'm also on Instagram, and Instagram's probably where I hang out the most these days, I think, when I'm away from my videos. But I do post on Twitter and Facebook as well. But it's usually just about my video, really. But that's where you can find me. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And Chris, where can they go on the interwebs to find you?
Pretty standard, old-fashioned, regular website, banthaskull.com, which I kind of feel like is having a print newspaper in the early 2000s, not on the socials so much. But we do, if you go to banthaskull.com, we do have links to all our social accounts up there. Twitter is probably the easiest, or X. Although Elon did tweet out he's thinking about going back to Twitter, so that's so Twitter's the easiest place to if you need to get in contact with us for anything.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you all again immensely for being here today and talking about the HasLab and talking Star Wars, talking TVC, and fun time as always. And really grateful that each of you were able to be here, even though we're all over the place. Awesome. And thanks to our audience for hanging out with us as well. We really appreciate everybody that's been commenting and being part of this rap party, as Jason noted. Definitely, we're celebrating, the success of the incredible success of this HasLab campaign. As far as next week, I will be here, Cantina Sashar, next Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And I will be the following week at San Diego Comic-Con. So if you guys are going to be there, please hit me up. Let me know if you're going to be there. But no matter where you're tuning in from in the galaxy, no matter which dimension you're joining us from, we appreciate you being here for Cantina Session Hour. Be well, be safe, and the Force be with you. And we will see you next